This is the land of the Bible, the nation of Israel, whose calendar reminds its people of the appointed times of the Lord, times of rest and remembrance, specific times that look back and times that point to the future. Clustered in the spring and the fall, these holy feast days are tied to the agricultural cycle of Israel. There are a total of 7 holidays based on a lunar calendar that follows the phases of the moon. The Feast of Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of First Fruits, the Feast of Pentecost, the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles. According to the creation account in the book of Genesis, these sacred appointed times were in the mind of God from the very beginning.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years." Genesis chapter 1.
The three of us have thought a lot about the feasts of Israel. They've been part of our spiritual journeys. We're all Jewish. Avner Boskey makes his home in the south of Israel, in Beersheba, where Abraham lived. Avner's a guide, a musician, and a teacher of the Bible. Michael Brown hosts a national radio program in the U.S. Mike's also a Hebrew scholar and an author. I'm Michael Rydelnik. I'm a professor of Jewish studies and Bible, and I also host a national radio program. We met in Israel to explore the compelling links between Jesus, or Yeshua as he's called in Hebrew, and the feasts of Israel. Since the appointed times or holidays follow the harvest cycle, we chose to meet here at the Biblical Landscape Reserve. It's called Neot Kedumim in Hebrew. Here, 625 acres with 250,000 hand-planted trees and shrubs of the Bible have recreated the setting for how life was lived 3,000 years ago.
The only source of water in Israel is rainwater. And it rains here only, at best, between mid-November until, if we're very lucky, end of March. During those few months, all of our water needs for the rest of the year have to be supplied. That is just as true today as it was in the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
That water gives life to grain, grapes, dates, pomegranates, and olives. Here, an ancient olive press has been reconstructed. Olives placed in the trough are crushed by a stone wheel, providing oil for cooking and oil for lamps. The annual feasts of Israel have led each of us to spiritual insights and discoveries. And we're convinced that they continue to have deep meaning and significance for everyone. They call us back to God, and they reveal Jesus, or Yeshua, as the Messiah of Israel and the forgiver of the world. So, Avner, what are these feasts, and why did God give them to Israel?
He gave 7 different festivals to kind of outline the calendar year, so it would have had an agricultural aspect in terms of the crops and what's happening at different times of the year. Would have had, the feasts would have also had an issue of history, like moving out of Egypt and remembering that in the Exodus, so it's a historical festival. And that would have had a sense of looking forward to the end of days and also to the Messiah, which would be in a sense a prophetic understanding of the feast.
So there's a past, an immediate, and an ultimate meaning.
Right, and it's a remembrance too.
Yeah, and why did God want this for Israel?
You see, we've got to remember that Israel passed on its truths, its traditions by repetition, by lifestyle, by calendar. Every week the Sabbath and what it remembered, creation and Exodus from Egypt. So the same thing with the feasts and the holy days. This was something that became the fabric of the life of the nation. They would look back to the things that God did in the past. It would give them meaning for the present, and then they'd be looking forward. So there is that past, present, future.
They say, come back, come celebrate me again, come worship me again. And that's why they have this annual repetitive cycle. And I think it's a great thing for all of us, because we all tend to get caught up in this sort of regularness, the normalcy of life, day to day, hand to mouth living. And God says, wait a minute, come back, remember me. And I think that's why in the creation narrative, God says that He's going to put the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky to count times and seasons, the festivals, so that Israel would to remember that when they look up at the sun, moon, and stars, remember the festivals are coming. So
it's interesting in Leviticus 23 how God said, these are my festivals. So there's an aspect where it's kind of precious to Him in some way. He said, the week, the month, the festivals throughout the year, I want you to keep coming back to me and remembering my work and who I am.